Should you get a contract signed over the phone, or should you go out belly to belly with every single seller that you speak with in an effort to try to get the contract signed? Some people think one thing, some people think the other. I think it depends, but I'm more on the side of trying to get it signed over the phone. And I'm going to tell you why that is, and hopefully this is going to help you in your decision making when it comes to this particular item. Now, this is for you if you are a real estate investor, wholesaler, you're starting out brand new and or experienced even, but you're looking to do more deals and you're looking to be more time efficient and you're looking to really get down to the nitty gritty with your prospects so you can get down to that point where now you're ready to know if this is the deal that you're going to put on the contract or not. And this is what we're talking about. And I'll tell you the story. Now, the story here is that we have this seller where we've been communicating with the majority of the conversation, almost actually all the conversation has been via text message. And that is how we're communicating really 80% of the time with the sellers, at least to get that initial gathering of information so that we can determine if this particular deal is a deal that we want to pursue, if we want to get on the phone with them. And I highly recommend you do that because most people are texting nowadays. Most people don't like to be on the phone, including myself, including my wife. If I call my wife, then she's asked me, what's wrong? Why are you calling me? You should be texting me. I don't got time for this. And that's what the sellers are also doing as well. So we have to be mindful of that. Now, this, just to give you a timeline, we've gone back and forth with the seller, ask him a series of questions. Hey, what sort of condition does the property in? What sort of price you're looking for? They did give us a price of $350. And now the decision point is, hey, are we going to go ahead and try to get on belly to belly with this person? Should we go visit the property? At least that's what the decision point that my wife came to me with. And then my next question to her was, well, let's talk a little bit about this deal. And so now, just to give you a frame, if $350, it really isn't a deal because I think that the value on this repaired is $425 to $390, $395, $399, let's say $400 to $425. So, you know, $350 doesn't leave a lot of room. What would be a good price for this deal? If we can get this deal at $250, Chico is jumping up and down, already thinking about his next European vacation with this big assignment fee. So what about a price of $285, $290? I think that would be a pretty good price. What about a price of $300? $300, $305 would be a price where you might take a chance on the deal. Maybe if it's a hot area, maybe if people are overpaying for properties there, you might consider that. So that's where we're at with it. So her thing, I said, well, what we really need to do is we need to flesh this out a little bit more to really figure out where we stand with this deal so that then at that point, then we can really make a determination if we need to go there or not. And that is the first step. So here's what I told her to do next. I said to her, you got to text them back and you got to say to them, you know, thank you very much, first of all. And a lot of the properties we're buying in that area, we're buying at around 300. Now, my wife said, why don't we give them a range of 315 to 320, you know, say 300 to 315, and give them a range. And so I don't like that range because when you give them a range, you got to think they only listen to the last number. So if I give them a range between 300 to 315, all they heard in their mind was, oh, maybe I'll get 315. If you want to give them a range, then you have to say, you know, 285 to 300, and now they hear the 300, right? And so you could, because you can always say typically it's 275, but if the property doesn't need as much work as you know, and if it's in pretty good shape, then at that point, then we can go a little bit higher. And then at that point, then ask them, since they already gave us a price, then the next question in that whole exchange would be, what would be the best that you can, you know, what would be the best that you can do? And then see what they said. Now, there's two things that they would say. They would either say, no, 350 is the best, take it or leave it, or they say, you know, they give us a number. Whatever the number they give us, we'd say, okay, thank you. Let me do this. Let me go back to my underwriting department and let me see what they tell me. And at that point, then I can give you a call back, and then we could chat about it some more. Now, that next conversation, the next conversation up has to be over the phone. You've got to get over the phone. You got to get that on the phone. When you get down to the nitty-gritty details of doing that final negotiation, you got to do it over the phone because you have got to pick up on the nuances associated with the property. Now, it's very in a text conversation, although it is efficient, although it's how most people are used to, you know, having conversations nowadays. You're not able to pick up any of the emotions. You're not able to pick up any of the nuances of that conversation with the seller. So being able to do this over the phone is very much key. Now, how somebody says 350 over the phone could make a difference. If somebody says, oh man, I really need to sell, but it's just at I really need the 350. I really need the 350. And so the question is, okay, well, the properties that need work in the area have sold for 300, 275, 285. Here's this, here's that one over there. Oh my gosh, that startled me. I think I had a iguana jump into the lake. Scared the crap out of me. So now I lost my train of thought. If you get on the phone with them and you say, well, look, here's what the numbers are, and you try to have a conversation with them, and they are like, hell no, I'm not gonna sell my property for that price. What are you, crazy? I would never sell the property for that price. I would rather burn it down and give it away to I don't know, communists. Before I would sell it to you, you blood-sucking vampire of real estate. That's a much different tonality than the other person, right? And so you might say, well, gee, that one may not be such a good person to go to, see, because, at the end of the day, it's not, I don't think I'm going to be able to do anything. Now, there's always grays, right? Right now we have like 50, 60 leads that we're trying to get through because we're a little bit backed up. So for us, we're willing to say, you know what, not next on that one. If that's the only lead you have and you haven't gotten any leads in a while and you're just starting out, and you got nothing better to do and you're like, screw it, let me just go and meet with the seller and spend my afternoon, maybe go to my favorite coffee spot that happens to be down the street, then that's your decision to make. But again, there's always gray areas, right, associated with this thing. But now, depending, so let's say she talks to them over the phone, and then now the decision point is that, let's say that it is 350. Look, bottom line, I'm not going to sell for less for that. I know it's worth more. I know that, I could be here until the cows come home. I don't need to sell. I will be here for 2 years or 3 or 10 years. It doesn't matter to me, because at the end of the day, I don't need to go anywhere. Then that might be a decision to say, you know what, 350 ain't a deal. So I'm just going to go ahead and just say, forget about it. I'm not going to go. Now, if, let's say in that example, they come back and you're able to negotiate a price, or you're close, then should you get the contract signed over the phone? I think you should. Because what will happen is that, look, you should try to get the contract signed because someone is going to sign that deal up. If you do your best, and if you got your game on, right, when it comes to sales and talking with sellers, and you do your best and you cannot get that person to say yes over the phone because they say, look, you got to come and see this, I don't feel comfortable, etc. Chances are that they're going to say the same thing to everybody else as well that they may be talking to. So they're going to force everybody to get to come to the property, which is fine. But at least you tried. At least you gave it a good shot. Now, if you get somebody else that comes in and knows what they're doing, and then they convince the seller, that's another problem altogether. But you did your best to try to tie it up over the phone, because if you felt that you really need to look at it, you could still tie it over the phone, and then you could still look at it after you tied up over the phone as part of your inspection process. So that wouldn't be that big of a deal. Because the challenge that you have is that if you say, yeah, I'll meet you, but I can't meet you till Thursday, and today is Monday, in between now and then, somebody could come in and just simply ask and just negotiate with them, and they feel that, oh yeah, you know what, I'll take the deal. It gives me a little bit more money. They'll take the deal with that other investor, and then because they're going to do it over the phone, and you got, you're coming there on Thursday, and it's too late already for you, right? So I would do my best to put it on the contract, all right? And part of that is, when you're doing that over the phone, when you're speaking with sellers and trying to get the deal under contract that way, a lot of that is just mindset. A lot of that is just getting over the fear of asking the seller and having a conversation about, hey, why can't you come see the property? Why are you gonna do it like this? It doesn't make any sense. So part of that is you having a script down, you understanding what that those things are gonna come up, and you have a way to get through that, and you've practiced that enough times so that when that comes up, then it's not gonna be a stumbling block for you. Recently, I had one of my students, Greg, who has a deal that he's gonna make the most he's ever made on a deal so far, $30,000. Using Facebook ads for motivated sellers. Click on the link in the description. How's that for a shameless plug? And on this particular deal, he showed me his CRM, and the whole thing was all text message. He got on the phone one time with the seller, right at that point where he was going to go ahead and have that negotiation with the seller. After that, then it was done. And so then everything else after that, including the conversations and the back and forth with the buyer, has all been text. So you could do all of this via text. And you have to think about it that most people, you know, back in the days when I started, everything was belly to belly. And, you know, even faxing, you couldn't do faxing because of the fact that a property owner is not going to have a fax. Only a business has a fax. So we had to get the contract signed physically if we're going to get them signed. But however, nowadays, people are used to doing things in a digital way. They're used to doing it that way. And so you also have to come across like that is how you do everything. And it's really odd, Mr. Seller, because nobody has ever asked me that before. Like when a seller says, oh, I don't feel comfortable signing that document via DocuSign, you have to, not that you're going to say this specifically, but you have to come across to the seller almost to the point where you're kind of confused, like, wow, I never had anybody say that before. Everybody always says okay to DocuSign because they're used to it. But I'll explain to you how that works, and you'll see that it's perfectly okay. So bottom line is, I think that you should do everything in your power to do deals over the phone, to negotiate over the phone, and to try to get that contract signed. If you are not able, despite your efforts, get that contract signed, then at that point, then you can go. If it's virtual, you can get somebody out to go to the property and get the deal signed. But for the most part, I would say yes, get it over the phone. Now, some of you might say, well, you're going to lose some deals. You're going to have some sellers that are going to say, oh, I need to be belly to belly with you, and they're not going to say that specifically. If they do, don't go to the house. If a seller says that to you, that they want to be belly to belly with you, I wouldn't personally go to the house unless that's something that you're particularly interested in doing. And I'm not going to hold judgment against you with that, because everybody has their thing, but you know what I mean. So if a seller says that to you, and you just simply cannot do it, or they get cold feet because of it, is there a chance that you might lose a deal? There's a chance. But if you're aggressive and doing deals over the phone, then you're going to pick up more than you lose. But now I forgot what it was. These neighbors are going to think, what is this guy doing? He just moved in and he's like taking videos. By the way, if you want to do deals over the phone virtually, make sure you check out the videos here that YouTube is suggesting on virtual wholesaling step by step, and most importantly, my training 3-part series on Facebook ads for motivated sellers. Check that out. Make sure you subscribe to the channel. Talk to you later.